he is from New York. That Kevin McCullough.
And we're back from New York. And again, if you miss any part of it, you can always go back and watch on demand at Salem News Channel, snc.tv. And of course, we podcast this thing to 3.2 million users. And hopefully, if you just want to enjoy the audio version, you'll find that at any podcast aggregator nationwide. Kevin McCullough with John Erwin. John, Greg Laurie and I had a chat last week, and he's one of my favorite people to talk to. He's so real. And he was describing for us the moment when you approached him about making this movie with the cover of that kind of famous Time magazine that kind of set everything in context. And you wanted to tell somebody's story that had been there and done that, had gone through it. And I think with Greg in the film, and also even with Michael W. Smith doing the By Our Love recording, you've got a couple of people that attached to this thing that really, I mean, their lives were transformed by it. Arguably, Smitty, one of the most successful musicians, secular or sacred, that will go down in history on so many different levels. And Greg Laurie's life and what he's done in terms of reaching people with the hope, to highlight what you were saying earlier, that people are looking for and as found in Jesus Christ, radically transformed by this movement. Was it a difficult thing to pitch a Kelsey Grammer or a Kimberly Williams or some of the other people that may not have had that connection to the storyline to say, come on and be part of this? It's going to be special.
That's a great question. My relationship with Greg did begin with the cover of Time magazine, that 1971 cover, psychedelic Jesus on the cover, and it said the Jesus Revolution. I bought that magazine on eBay while I was doing the film Woodlawn, which was set in the 70s before the film I Can Only Imagine. And I was blown away by the article. And it was such a hopeful story. And this was just a few years after the cover of Time. It was the first time that the cover of Time had no picture. It just said, "Is God dead?" And so I was like, what happened between these two magazines? And I'm just compulsively curious by nature. So I wanted to learn, and I wanted to meet someone that lived it. And that led to my relationship with Greg Laurie that has just become one of the great friendships of my life. And I think he and Kathy are wonderful people. And I just wanted to fully understand what had happened, because the more I studied the time, even in, 2015, the more the similarities were striking. And the only more striking those similarities have become since. It was just a time of division and desperation. And so I began to think, man, if this could happen then, maybe this could happen again today. And we've tried to get this movie made over and over again. Between every movie, like I Can Only Imagine, I Still Believe, American Underdog. This has been the movie that we've tried, the passion project that we've tried to get the credibility to make. So the timing of when the movie has come out is staggering to me because of these revivals all over America. And then to see people like Kelsey Grammer, people of commit to the project is unbelievable. And I think it's just one of the miracles that led to the project. Like I just had when we remounted the project, I thought the role belonged to Kelsey Grammer, because when you can be Frasier and play Macbeth, like that's range, man. And so I just thought it was his. And when we sent him the script, he said he was having this sort of crisis of meaning and wanted to do something that was truly meaningful and valuable and values based. And our script came the next morning. So I think that's just one of the miracles the miracles upon miracles that made this project happen.
You just made a very slight reference to the Asbury phenomenon and what's happening, and it's spread from there to other college campuses, and I think it's spreading to places all over the globe. Actually, I'm getting reports from Brazil and France and other places where even in some fairly pagan, secular context, this is happening. I know that for myself too. I had several friends that asked me in the media world last week, said, I'm thinking about going to see Cocaine Bear. I just wish there was something else to have as an option. And I told them about Jesus Revolution, and several of them who I don't think would claim any faith significantly said, I'm going to check that out. That sounds really interesting. And I think that this is going to be one of those conversation starters. But you talked about the timing of when this came out. Do you see God's hand in its correspondence with the Asbury revival?
Oh, it's unbelievable, uncanny timing that I just shows that there's a divine hand, and it's amazing. And I do feel, by the way, that the film it's unbelievable how it plays so wide. People just love it for its themes. I was talking to a Forbes reporter who's Jewish, and he was like, every rabbi in America needs to see this film, because they're all asking. So many of us are asking, how do I connect with my kids? How do I connect with my congregation? And that really is the tension of the movie and what the movie explores. And so it's so cool to see something so specific play so wide to people and how they really enjoy it. I think there's an absolute providential hand in the timing of this. I remember talking to Dallas Jenkins, whose show is The Chosen, and I'm like, we didn't sit down and cook this up of like, okay, Dallas, your show ends with the walking on water, and then there'll be Super Bowl commercials the next week with Jesus, and then we're going to anchor the end of the month with Lionsgate, and we're going to schedule a revival in between at Asbury. Like, this all just happened, and it was so cool because they called the Jesus movement a Christian happening. Like, it just sprung up. I even had one of the radio hosts asked me the other day, like, just shoot straight with me. How much did it cost your marketing team to start that Asbury revival? I'm like, we did like that. We had nothing to do with it, And he was kidding. But actually, my wife and I drove up to it on day 3 because I was in Kentucky anyway.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, man, that's why we made the movie. And I just want to listen. So we drove up. You could just walk into the auditorium at that point. It was full, but you could just walk into it. And we sat there and just listened to the voice of a generation and what God was doing in that generation, and how they were speaking with authority about their time and what they want. And it's like, I literally witnessed the passing of the baton of Christianity to a generation that I think is going to blow us away by what they can do and what God can do through them. And I feel I just sat there thinking, like, this is why we've made the movie. This is why I carried this magazine around for 7 years trying to get this movie made. Like, I'm seeing it happen right in front of my eyes before the movie even comes out. And that is so cool. And I just see so many similarities to a generation now and a generation then. And what I love about the generation then is you have so many leaders in Christianity that came out of that generation. All of Christian music as we know it today, including Michael W. Smith and Amy Grant, came out of that movement.
Yep.
And Greg Laurie and others. And so
absolutely,
I hope the film is a tool to that end.
No question about it. John Erwin, you've been working hard for a lot of weeks. Thank you for staying up late with us tonight on a Saturday, and all the best on continued weekends going forward. And we look forward to seeing what's going to be, what's really going to be done, because this film exists. I know it's certainly been prayed over, and there's a lot of people pulling for it. And friends, if you have not yet seen it, go see it this weekend. Take some friends. Greg Laurie and I agreed on this when he was on the show last week. I said, Greg, this is the perfect opportunity to take all those friends you've been having those kind of tangential conversations with, say, let's go watch a movie and then get pizza after, and let's talk about it. Couldn't be a better film for exactly
why we made it. And maybe this weekend we can outrun the cocaine bear. We'll see. But they tend to fall off pretty quick, because that's how cocaine works.
The high is good, but the crash is much harder. Anyway, John Erwin, thanks for being with us.
All right, take care. Thank you for having me.
Kevin McCullough coming right back from New York. Don't go away.
Ready or not, he'll be right back. That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough.